The zombie became wildly excited the moment it smelled fresh blood. Thinking fast, the young woman tossed her used sanitary pad as a distraction. The zombie immediately grabbed it and stuffed it into its mouth. After a few bites, it seemed to realize something wasn't right. When it looked up, the woman had already packed her bag and was quietly trying to escape. The zombie instantly took off after her. At first, she thought it would eventually give up, but it never did. It kept following her at the same steady distance, refusing to quit. With the blazing sun overhead, endless desert beneath her feet, and a tireless zombie chasing behind, the woman was physically and mentally exhausted. She finally stopped for a drink of water and a short rest, but the moment she caught her breath, she noticed the zombie was getting closer again. Left with no choice, she picked up her backpack and continued walking. After a long journey, she found an abandoned cabin. Hoping to find supplies, she searched every corner, but the place was completely empty. At least there was an old mattress where she could rest for a while. Just as she lay down, she suddenly realized she hadn't heard the zombie in quite some time. She carefully walked to the door and looked outside. Sure enough, it had caught up with her again. She quietly hid inside an old bathtub while the zombie searched the cabin. Holding her breath, she stayed perfectly still. At that moment, a scorpion crawled onto her body, slowly making its way from her neck toward her face. She desperately fought the urge to scream. Finally, the zombie gave up and walked away. She quickly brushed the scorpion off, grabbed her backpack, and continued her journey. But it seemed the zombie had memorized her scent. Before long, it was following her again. Frustrated, she picked up rocks and threw them at it with all her strength, but they barely slowed it down. The zombie kept getting closer, forcing her to run for her life. Eventually, she ran out of water. Weak from dehydration and the scorching heat, she suddenly saw a massive sandstorm approaching in the distance. Terrified, she turned around and tried to escape, but within seconds, both she and the zombie were swallowed by the storm. Nearly dying from thirst, she collapsed in the desert. Just when she thought she couldn't survive any longer, an SUV happened to drive by. Two friendly young men jumped out, rushed over to help her, handed her a bottle of water, and invited her into their air-conditioned vehicle to recover. She suddenly remembered that her backpack had been buried in the sandstorm. One of the men kindly offered to help find it. As she relaxed inside the vehicle, something caught her attention. She noticed a photograph of a black father and son. Immediately, she sensed something was wrong. Looking into the back seat, she discovered blood-stained clothing. Just as she tried to get out, the two men returned. She made up excuses to leave, but the men had no intention of letting her go. They threw her to the ground. Seeing how beautiful she was, they decided they didn't want to kill her and instead tried to assault her. Just as the woman was about to become their victim, the zombie suddenly emerged from beneath the sand. One of the men backed away in terror, while the other was instantly bitten in the neck. The surviving man abandoned his partner and sped away in the SUV, accidentally leaving behind a crate full of supplies. After recovering from the shock, the woman gathered the supplies, loaded them onto an inflatable raft, and continued her journey. This time, she couldn't hold back her tears. Ever since the zombie outbreak began, humans had become more monstrous than the undead. In the end, it was the zombie that had saved her life. When she saw the zombie following her once again, she wiped away her tears and kept moving. Later, she came across a pile of discarded tires. Suddenly, she came up with an idea. She slipped a tire over the zombie's body and tied a rope to it, turning the zombie into free labor to help pull her supplies. Eventually, she tied the rope around a large rock, trapping the zombie so it couldn't follow anymore. She started to walk away, but when she looked back, the zombie's eyes seemed filled with sadness. She hesitated. After everything it had done to save her, she couldn't bring herself to abandon it. Slowly, she walked back and carefully removed the tire. To her surprise, the zombie stayed calm and never tried to attack her. From that moment on, the two continued their journey together, no longer completely alone. Eventually, they reached a highway. The woman pulled out her phone to check the map when she noticed several military vehicles approaching. Instead of asking for help, her first instinct was to hide the zombie. She quietly comforted it, begging it not to make a sound. After the convoy passed, she sighed with relief until one military truck suddenly stopped nearby.